Hey, you may be wondering what is the actual cost of living in Florida. So I'm gonna break down quite a bit of things in this video. Bear with me because some things are gonna be different for you than for me. And I'm actually gonna go over two examples of what if you were to buy a home on the lower end of the price points, and this would be a single family home, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms for $300,000. And I have an example here to show you, compared to a median price home. So in Sarasota, that median price is $485 as of this past month, $485,000. So I'm going to show you what that home is like, and trust me, it's a lot nicer. And then I'll break down all the other expenses that you can incur, living in Florida. So let's get into this. And by the way, my name is Maciek. If you don't know who I am, I'm a real estate agent in Sarasota, and I want to help people understand what's going on in Florida with real estate in general. And this is a very common question I get when I have people who are considering moving to the area. So hopefully this will be informative to you and you'll learn quite a bit. So let's get right into it. Let's get started with housing. All right, so let's start with this first house. This one is listed for $299,900. It's currently for sale right now, actually. And it's located in Sarasota, actually pretty good location, very centrally located. So it's not in a bad neighborhood, or it's not in a shady part of town or anything like that. This is a home that is actually gonna have some savings. I'll explain that in a moment, but it's pretty simple. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, built in 1975, and it's just under 1,100 square feet. It doesn't have a garage. It has a little bit of land, 5,356 square feet of land. Not that big, pretty small lot. But it's on a nice little street where it's pretty quiet, so you're not going to get, noise, road noise, and so on. And it is located very well in Sarasota to get to the interstate or to the beaches. You're literally like 10 minutes from Siesta Key from this location. And this is one of the cheapest residences in our area. That is the truth. In Sarasota, if we go to Venice or Bradenton, we could probably find something a little cheaper. So let's go into the bank rate mortgage calculator and check this out. It's important to not just look at the price, but also how much down payment are you going to need and what are the monthly costs going to be. So as we go into this, we pop in $299,900, and I do know that you could probably get this a little cheaper. It's been listed on the market for, around 50 days or so. This is beyond the averages of sitting on the market before it goes under contract. Plus, everything is selling for about 97% of the list price. So, you could take about 3% off of this price. Now, I don't know about the seller, but I'm just saying, statistically speaking. All right, let's start with housing, and we need to go to a mortgage calculator. Let's go online. I like to use Bankrate. It has a nice pie graph that it kind of creates. So let's go to the first home, which is here on, we're going to assume that we're going to be paying full price, $299,900. Okay, so let's pop this in first of all. And we're going to assume that we have a 20% down payment here. So that would be just under $60,000. And if you don't have 20% down, that's fine. Your payment would go up a little bit because by doing 20% down, we're avoiding paying PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. So this would save you a few $100s a month. But also, if you have less than $60,000, well, then you have less money out of pocket. So let's keep going. We are assuming we're doing a 30-year fixed rate at today's prevailing rates, which are 8%, right around 8%. You might be able to get a little less, and usually that may require some points depending on your credit score. So just for the principal and interest, we're at $1,760, but we have to pay taxes. And this property, the yearly taxes for the previous owner was $2,258. That ends up being $188 per month. And then the one factor that I can't, predict exactly is the insurance rate. So I'm just gonna make an assumption here of right around $3,000 a month. And one thing that we can't predict, exactly is how much is insurance gonna be. And being that it's an older home from the 70s, I'm gonna presume that it's right around $3,000 a year, which is $250 per month. So once we add these up, this home, just for the PITI, which is principal and interest, taxes and insurance, that would be $2,198. And I'll tell you, if you're gonna rent instead, It's going to be more than that in our area. Slightly more, nothing crazy. But this home would probably rent for about $2,200, $2,300, $2,400. Now real quick, let's just go into it. Let's just kind of scroll through some of these photos. This is what you're getting. As you can tell, it is what it is. It's a $300,000 home. Okay, so this home at $300,000, which is a very low priced home in our area, you're looking at $2,198. Now let's go into the median priced home. Now this one is in a neighborhood, in a gated community, okay? This is a deed restricted community. And the home is almost 50% larger than the other one. Listed at exactly $484,900. So this is, $100 less than the median price according to last month's statistics. And it is a full 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. Now it doesn't have a pool, but it looks really nice. So let's get into these numbers now. So first and foremost, let's put in the price here. Obviously, same thing, 20% down. This one requires $97,000, just under, and also 8% interest rate. And that principal and interest payment is going to be $2,846. Okay, now we have to add property taxes. This one is $3,673. Add that up, divide it out, it's about $306 per month. And then we have obviously home insurance. And once again, we can't predict exactly what it is, but I'm assuming it's going to be $3,500. First of all, because it's a newer home built in 2022, it's going to have lower insurance rates. So that's about $292 per month. And then, of course, we have a homeowners association, which is $171 per month. And we get a grand total of $3,615. That's about 50% more than the other home. But you're obviously getting a much nicer home, much larger home, and a full 3-bedroom, 2 baths, and it's also new, or pretty new. It's built in 2022. But that's not all. Now we have to go in and we have to start adding up the electricity and the utilities and so on for the house, just to keep the house running. So let's go back to our first example, the home for $300,000. And the electricity, once again, it's kind of like insurance. I don't know exactly how much it'll be, but I'm presuming it's going to be about $250. And I'm, making this assumption based on my electric bills, and my home is, under 2,000 square feet, and I'm paying right around $400 per month. So I'm just presuming that, and my home is from the 80s, this one's from the 70s, probably a little worse insulation and so on, but it is smaller. So I'm just going to assume $250. Now, what about water, sewer, and trash removal? Well, in this case, we actually have a well to supply the water. So there's zero cost on that except for the maintenance of keeping the pump running and very little bit of electricity. Next is the drainage, the sewer part. And this home is on a septic tank. So some people don't like septic tanks, but the nice part is that it's free. So we're actually going to put in $0 for water, sewer, and trash, because trash is included in our property taxes. Whenever you don't have public sewer and public water, then you have it in your property taxes. So this is $0, really nice here. And then lastly is the internet. Now I went to see how much is internet going to cost just for an introductory plan, and it's $40 a month, but you always got to pay taxes and so on. So let's just assume $50 per month. So the grand total on this $300,000 house is, after you have electricity, water, sewer, garbage, and internet, you are a total of $2,498, under $2,500, not bad at all. And now let's go back to the other home here, the median price home, $484,900. And this one here, the electricity, I'm going to presume, is about $300. Now, it's a much larger home, and I didn't go up to $400 because it's probably very well insulated, meeting the guidelines and the standards of the Florida building code. As of today, the insulation is much better. It's not used and not worn down yet, so probably about $300 a month. Now, water, sewer, and garbage, I'm just going to assume $100. And that assumption is basically assuming that you're not watering your lawn using the public water. You're either not watering it at all, or you have a well, which this house does not have a well. And then once again, our internet, we're going to go with $50. Let's add everything up. and we're at $4,064. So $4,065 basically. So when we just look at the housing expense only, we're comparing, you know, a introductory level home to a median price home. This is not luxury at all. This is just normal homes. And it's $2,500 versus little over $4,000. That's just to keep your house afloat. So if you were to get a job offer in Sarasota and they're going to be paying you, you know, $30,000 a year on the small home, that is literally going to pay just those expenses. You won't even get qualified for a loan with that kind of income. And this median price home, you need to be making, you know, $49,000 every single year just to pay for those utilities and that home. So obviously you need to have a lot more income, okay? So now let's get into the automobile. And this part here is actually very, very flexible because you can go the route of getting a loan, you can go the route of getting a beater, you can go to the route of just getting something that's adequate. That doesn't mean it's a beater and, you know, it's got like 2 hubcaps missing, but it's just a car to get you from point A to point B. I mean, we're not here to impress anybody, right? This is for your family. We are, once again, presuming that this is for a family of 4, all of these calculations. So you need something that's gonna get you from point A to point B, okay? So if you go get a used car and you get a car payment, you know, over 5-6 years, I don't recommend that, by the way. I recommend not getting a car loan, but that's a different story. But let's just say you're gonna buy just a normal car, you know, $25,000 or so, $25,000. Your car payment is gonna be right around $400. Now, the average car payment in America is over $600. So this would be not getting an average car, and most people do drive pretty expensive cars. I highly recommend you do not go into a new dealership because those car payments are very high and you lose money as soon as you drive it off the lot and so on. Get a 3-year-old off-lease car. Anyway, I have lots of opinions about this. Let's just keep going with the numbers here. So $400 for a car payment. That's actually what my car payment is, $402, you know, and I drive an SUV. It's adequate for my whole family, which I have a family of 4. Now, insurance on my car comes out to $164 a year. Now, this car insurance is under me. I'm not married, I'm engaged. So we do not have all of our cars together on one policy and so on. But I know that if you have multiple cars, multiple people, multiple policies, this would be cheaper. But a family of 4 doesn't need 2 cars. I'm assuming that you only need 1 car in this whole calculation. So 1 person on it. You know, for 6 months, I'm paying just under $1,000, $985. Total per year, $1,970, which is $164 per month. But aside from that, you also need to have some gas in your car. So now I'm assuming that you're going to spend about $50 of gas per week. So that's, you know, $2,600 per year when you multiply it by 52 weeks, and then that ends up being $217 per month. But what car is not going to get maintained? At the very, very minimum, you need to have oil changes. You're probably going to need to get some tires once every few years, brake pads, and so on. There's always some maintenance going on. So try to get everything done by yourself, because in this calculation, I'm assuming you're getting an oil change and just a little bit extra. Maybe a car battery every 5 years. And some brakes every few years, whatever it is, right? So I'm assuming that you're gonna be right around $50 per month on your maintenance. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a lot more than that, but let's just presume that's the case. Now, if you were to lease a car, maintenance is included in that. So you could actually lease a car and not own it for, you know, similar numbers, if not a little less. So our total for having a car adds up to $831 per month. That's quite a lot, but it is what it is, guys. You could shave some of these costs by getting a cheaper car, which has lower insurance, which has no car payment, and more efficient on gas. If you go get yourself a Prius that's, you know, 10 years old, 15 years old, you're gonna pay cash out of pocket $6,000, $7,000. You're gonna have a lot less gas, and there's pretty safe cars, so your insurance is also gonna be lower. You can get this number a lot lower than $831 per month. So now let's add these two up, housing and automobile. On the inexpensive house, we are at $3,329 a month. On the more expensive home, the median price home, we're at $4,895. But that's not all. We have to eat, right? Let's get into it a little further, a little bit deeper. How much is everything in Florida? How much does it cost? So we're talking about a family of 4. So food and dining, if you're very, very efficient and your kids are not necessarily, toddlers and 5 years old, not eating much, and they're also not, 18-year-olds eating a lot, right? I know about that. I got 2 teenage boys, and I tell you, they do eat a lot of food. When it comes to food, and that includes dining out, maybe once a week, getting some Chinese or getting some pizza or something inexpensive. It does not include going out to nice restaurants or anything like that, or even Chili's and Applebee's, because one outing with a family of 4, it's going to be $100, $150, no problem. So I'm not including that. I'm just including the basics, getting your milk, getting your groceries, getting some cereal, not buying organic, not going to Whole Foods or Sprouts, just going to Walmart and going to some Publix and getting regular stuff. This does also include, like paper towels and toilet paper and so on, as long as you don't have major expenses for toiletries and makeup and things like that. We're basically 3 boys and 1 female in the household, so we don't have many of those expenses. But I'm assuming $2,000 per month for that. Now, moving on, we also need to have health insurance. So I looked up some plans, and what exactly does it cost? And this is another thing that varies quite a bit, because some people don't have health insurance. Some people don't make enough money to pay full price for health insurance, so they get it subsidized. And some people have their employer pay quite a bit, and then they pay from their paycheck, so they're not feeling the expense. But let's just assume you have to go to the private market and you're going to go and pay for a family of 4. I looked up the statistics for Florida, which is a little bit more expensive for healthcare than the other states, and a family of 4 would be right around $1,437 per month. Now, like I said, you can get this a lot cheaper. You could probably go up a little bit as well. All depends on what kind of coverage you have, pre-existing conditions, the whole spiel. But let's not forget that we need some phones, right? So right now, I can tell you that my phone bill is just slightly over this, but I do have 5 phones on my line. So you can actually get, this a little bit cheaper, and depending on if you have payments on the phones and so on. 2 of our phones have a payment plan of about like $20 a month each. So I know this could get lower, but I'm going to assume that it's $250 per month to have 4 lines. Now, obviously, if your kids are small, you don't need 4 lines. You can have 2 lines. And if you have some teenagers, you probably need to have a line added for each one of them. So it all depends. And, if you're going to go get the latest and greatest iPhones and you're going to put it on the payment plan, then this is going to be more than that. This is going to be $300, $350. So I'm just assuming $250 a month for phones. And now, grand total with our food, our health insurance, and our phones is $3,687. So let's go over one thing, because this little segment, I'm going to talk about what this is not including. The cost of living in Florida should not include the following items. Your credit card debt. If you got credit card debt, this is not in the calculation. This is assuming you have 0 credit card debt. Next is student loans. Once again, if you have student loans, this is assuming there are no student loans. So if you have them, then you have to add this to it. And then other things like leisure spending. Who doesn't like to go out, to a festival, to Busch Gardens, or go out to the Springs and check that out? By the way, if you've never been to the Springs in Florida, oh my gosh, go to the Springs. It's so beautiful. And then also, if you have a swimming pool, I'm not including any pool maintenance and the extra water usage, because water does evaporate from your pool, so you're going to have a little bit more water usage. But then there's the monthly maintenance. Even if you do it yourself, you still have to buy all the chemicals and do this. Plus, things break, pumps go out, leaks happen. lights go out. So no pool maintenance. Both of these homes do not have pools. And then this one is really, really important. I call this the capital improvements on the house. And I do this on my rentals, but a lot of people don't do it on their primary residence. So let me give you a quick example. If you have a house and it's brand new, like this one that's the median price, and your roof is basically 1 year old, right? Maybe 2, depending on what month it was built. A shingle roof in Florida is even though the shingles are rated for 30 years, they're gonna actually only be good for right around 15. And the reason is because of insurance, not because the actual longevity of the materials. So what's gonna happen is that insurance companies are not gonna renew you, and insurance rates are gonna go up as the years go on, because your roof is aging and you have a higher statistical probability of having a leak and therefore an insurance claim. So when it comes to your roof only, which is like the biggest line item on capital improvements, you have to look at it like this. If your roof costs $15,000 to replace, and I'm pretty sure on this median price home it's going to be more than $15,000, but just for easy numbers sake, if it costs $15,000 to replace and it is 1 year old, and it's only good for 15 years, you're going to have about $14,000 of saving that you're going to need to do so that you can replace it in 15 years. Now, obviously, the price is going to be higher in the future, so it should be even more than that, right? But let's just say it's $18,000 in 15 years. It's not. It's going to be even more than that, but I'm just trying to do some math for you. So $18,000, and you should divide that by 14 years. And what you're doing is you're calculating how much of your roof have you used up so that you can save money, so that when time comes to replace the roof, you have the money put aside. That's the capital improvements. So that's $1,285 a year. Divide that by 12, and now we're at $107 a month that you should be putting away in a separate account for your capital improvements of your roof. Now, I would probably do $200 a month, because I know that the cost of the materials and the labor is going to be like double in 15 years than it is today. You can't rely on having an insurance claim, because that is the other thing that people do. People just say, oh, a hurricane's going to come within 15 years. I'll just get a free roof. Not really. Because then your insurance goes up, then you have a claim on your insurance, and a lot of companies won't write you when you have a claim on your insurance. I mean, the whole insurance industry is a big money-making machine for those guys, and it's a drain for us homeowners. So I just say, put money aside, try to avoid the claim, and be ready. Be ready with something. Even if you do $50 a month, you at least have half of the amount, So that's not including that. Also, an air conditioner is going to last you 10 to 12 years, How much is that? $6,000, let's say. So that's $500 every single year you should be putting away for your AC. And then what about your hot water heater? That's about $1,500 installed. So now, and that lasts about 10 years. So that's $150 a year, only about like $14 a month, but still, these are capital improvements, and obviously things happen. Windows break when you have little kids, and just stuff happens, okay? So I'm not including any of this. What else am I not including? Well, how about furniture? Once in a while you're gonna get a rug and you're gonna replace something's gonna break. I'm not including any like Christmas trees and decorations for the holidays or anything like that. This is just how much does it cost to live in Florida, not how much does it cost to have a good life in Florida. And then another thing is childcare. This is a very, very big expense for people. And I know that childcare can easily cost $1,000 a month. Easy. So if you have a job where you need childcare, maybe you have a dual income household and no one can actually watch the kids for certain times, well, you need childcare. So I am not including childcare in this calculation, and I'm not including savings, because you should be saving. I'm not including retirement. You should be putting money away into an IRA, which is, I think, is $6,000 a year maximum, so that's $500 a month that you could be putting away. I'm not including any of this, okay? And lastly, I'm not including taxes. So on your money that you're making, you need to pay taxes. This is after tax the spending that you can incur. And let's add this up for the $300,000 home. When you add everything up, so you got your house, you got your car with your car loan, you have food for your family, health insurance, you got a phone, nothing else. $7,016. When you take that and you multiply it by 12 months, that's $84,000. That's what it costs to live in Florida. In this home, and I don't know what you think about this home, but you know, it's an intro home. And what about this nicer home? Let's look at that one. It's $8,582 per month. Multiply that out, that's just under $103,000 per year. After taxes, no savings, no leisure, no fun, no nothing. What about presents during the holidays? What about presents for birthdays? What about the birthday parties? I mean, it's not cheap to be alive. That's the bottom line. But you know, people are gonna say, oh wow, I can't believe it's so expensive to live in Florida. Listen, this is just expensive to be alive in America. That's the reality. So when you combine it with people having lots of debt, the average person has tons of credit card debt, you know, you really have to make even more than this, because this is just to stay alive. No wonder most Americans have a dual income household. No wonder a lot of people are getting divorced, and the number one reason for divorce is money. This is really an expensive country to live in, but the housing in Florida isn't cheap either. But what do you get? You get awesome beaches, you get the springs, you get a diverse amount of people, you get beautiful weather all year round, and once in a while you get a little hurricane party. So I know that this is expensive, but that's okay, because there's still plenty of people moving here. In fact, more people are moving into Florida than any other state, and there are many reasons. If you want to just chat about it, or if you want to see what's out there for sale, you can always go to my website. I'm going to include a link below, but it's sarasota.com. And you can do a search. If you want to get a little cheaper, you can go to Venice, you can go to Parrish. There's lots of new construction in Parrish. It's, you know, maybe 30 minutes from the beach. But Sarasota, you're going to be like, you know, 10 minutes to the beach. So it is a beautiful place here. Thanks so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please ask any questions in the comments.